Everybody enjoys a good mystery, but what occurs when a mystery lacks a satisfactory conclusion? That Scooby-Doo reveals the culprit. The following unresolved crime cases are peculiar, eerie, and frustratingly open-ended. They're among the most mysterious unsolved riddles of our time. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be looking at 10 crimes that'll never be solved. So, let's begin with one of the most well-known unsolved cases, Jack the Ripper. The murderer known as Jack the Ripper tormented the Whitechapel region of London back in 1888, killing at least 5 women and leaving their bodies mangled in a way that indicated he was more than just a little conversant with human anatomy. Could he have been a surgeon, a mortician? No one knows because he was never caught, and it is doubtful his identity will ever be known. It ranks as one of the world's most infamous unsolved mysteries. Read on for history's strangest unsolved mysteries. The Black Dahlia. Elizabeth Short, age 22, was discovered slain in an empty area in Los Angeles on January 15, 1947. She became known as the Black Dahlia because of her black hair and possibly a reference to the film The Blue Dahlia, which had been released the previous year. Despite a protracted investigation and a list of over 150 possibilities, her murderer was never identified, and it seemed unlikely that the case will ever be resolved. The murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Who murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman is a current unresolved mystery that originated in Los Angeles. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were discovered stabbed to death outside Nicole's home in June 1994. Nicole was the ex-wife of American football star O.J. Simpson. O.J. was the defendant in the murder trial, but he was acquitted. In a civil action, however, he was found accountable for the murders. Due to the fact that civil cases do not need proof beyond a reasonable doubt, it is impossible to determine whether or not O.J. Simpson was the murderer, despite the fact that he enjoys discussing how the trial would have proceeded had he committed the crime. The death of Betty Shanks. Betty Shanks, age 22, was discovered dead in Brisbane, Australia in 1952, and the case remains one of Queensland's oldest and most renowned unresolved murders. Lyle Reed, an Australian historian who has spent years investigating the incident, says he knows what happened. A police officer inadvertently killed her with his motorcycle, then staged a cover-up. Reed's account of the events, however, remain unpublished, and law enforcement has apparently pushed his notion under the rug. Enjoy a good true crime tale? These 10 true crime books are certain to please. The murder of JeanMarie Townsend. On the evening of September 14, 1954, 21-year-old JeanMarie Townsend left a party and was found strangled by her own scarf the following morning in South Ruislip, England. There was widespread speculation that an American soldier was responsible, but the authorities were unable to identify a single suspect. Following multiple anonymous tips, the case was reopened in 1982, but it has since gone cold and remains unsolved. All of these eerie urban legends contain a kernel of reality. The Love Me Tender murders. After watching the film Love Me Tender in Chicago on December 28, 1956, Barbara, 15, and her sister Patricia, 12, vanished into thin air. According to crime historian Ray Johnson, the ensuing investigation was one of the most labor-intensive cases of missing persons in Chicago history. A month later, their naked remains were found on the side of a local road. Although the coroner indicated that the kids were presumed to have perished from exposure within 4 hours of their abduction, his conclusion was widely challenged and bore some responsibility for the case going cold. The Sims family murders in Tallahassee. Robert and Helen Sims, together with their daughter Joy, were discovered dead in their Tallahassee, Florida home on October 22, 1966 by their oldest daughter Jeannie upon her return from a babysitting job. A local news station relates, a huge hunt was started to identify the perpetrator. However, the Sims had no enemies, the crime had no clear motive, and although there were suspects, no one was ever charged. As new technology develops, it is hoped that the long-stored crime scene evidence will yield a lead one day. The case of the men in the lead masks. In 1966, 2 electronics repairmen were discovered dead in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, clad in suits and wearing lead-eyed masks, the type of protection against radiation. A notebook containing instructions to be at the agreed place, take capsules, and wait for the mask signal was located next to them. Whether the men swallowed the alleged capsules or what the alleged capsules were supposed to contain will never be known because the toxicology report was inconclusive and likely erroneous. And despite the physical evidence, or perhaps because of its peculiarity, no one has ever been able to determine what actually occurred or why. The Zodiac murders. During the 1960s and 1970s, a person identifying themselves as the Zodiac murdered at least 5 individuals in the San Francisco region and taunted police authorities with cryptic communications, including a secret code that has never been cracked to this day. Over the years, numerous suspects have come forward, and some continue to do so, but none have ever been charged with being the true Zodiac. The hijacking of Flight 305. On November 24, 1971, a man in his mid-40s, dressed impeccably, hijacked Northwest Airlines Flight 305. The man passed a note to a flight attendant shortly after departure, requesting $200,000, equivalent to $1 million today, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the plane upon arrival. On the passenger manifest, his name was listed as Dan Cooper, but you undoubtedly know him better by his media moniker, DB Cooper. Cooper's requests were satisfied, and the individual was never seen again, never identified, and will likely never be identified. The murder of Hogan's hero actor, Bob Crane. Bob Crane is best remembered for playing Hogan in the 1960s television series Hogan's Heroes. In 1978, Crane was discovered in Scottsdale, Arizona, battered and strangled with an electric cord. Crane had hundreds of amorous relationships before and after his marriage, but the primary suspect was one of his male friends. In any case, the friend was acquitted of the murder owing to a lack of tangible evidence and exonerated once more through DNA testing. The situation will likely never be resolved. And that's all for today's video. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope that you found this video interesting, and if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. See you in the following video with some more of the latest updates, and until then, stay tuned.